Khan, Shalom, Shalom, Israel. It's your brother Kazak Magun. First and foremost, want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai. Right, that's Yahweh, who the world innerly calls God. In the name of the Son, Yahushai, who the world knows is Jesus Christ. Right, and I'm finna come at y'all with this lesson, man. Bringing this lesson to y'all. We coming with more scholarship, man. Giving you proof on why your ass need to be believing in this Bible. Mainly you blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, y'all need to be believing and taking hold of this Bible, man. Especially right now in these times right now, because this is your history book, and this book is only for you. It was written by you and is written for you, right? And I know we got a lot of our people on the fence. They want to be atheists. They want to go dove off into other religions, right? First off, the Bible is not Christianity. Christianity is its own entity, right? And Christianity tries to use the Bible to propagate its religion, but the Bible itself is not Christianity. The Bible is the ancient writings of the Hebrew people, the 12 tribes of Israel, right? That's their ancient writings and their ancient history, right? And we also got a lot of our people that want to get into Islam, right? When you get into Christianity and Islam, you're making yourself a second-class citizen either way. Meaning what? When you get into Christianity, you're putting yourself directly under the so-called white man, right? When you're getting into Islam, you're putting yourself directly under who? The Muslim, right? And then you got a lot of our people, they want to rub crystals together and put onions and garlic cloves in their socks when they sleep. You know, they wanna pray to the moon, you know, and worship the universe and all these other things. They want to get into Rastafarianism. You know, you got a lot of our people into all these different things, and it's time for y'all to come up out of all that, right? It's time for y'all to come up out of all that and basically, you know, come back to your God, right, which is the God of the Bible, right? You blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, it's time for y'all to come back home, man, right? So, like, is this? No, that's not what I wanted. I think it's Romans 13 and 11. Right, Romans 13 and 11, it says, "And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believe," right? So it say our salvation is near, right? If you can't see how the world changing, then you sleep, bro. And your ass need to wake up or you go die in your dreams, right? You need to wake up or you go die in your dreams. No Freddy Krueger, no Nightmare on Elm Street. You real life go die in your dreams, right? It says, "The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness." Let us get up out of these damn religions. Let us get up out of Christianity. Let us get up out of Islam. Let us get up out of Rastafarianism. Let us get up out of this Santeria. What my people do on the island? Santeria and voodoo and hoodoo. Let my people get up out of those beliefs and those practices, right? And let us what? And let us put on the armor of light. What is the armor of light? That's these laws, statutes, and commandments of our God, Yahweh. Right? His name is not Yahweh. His name is not Yahuwah. His name is not Jehovah. Right? His name is Yahweh. Right? And it's time for us to put on his armor. Right? That armor is his commandments, man. Right? But yeah, so this video is going to be like me going into an extra biblical source. It's not going to be long at all. It's going to be me going into an extra biblical source that, you know, I came across, right? I haven't really seen anybody go into this before, but it's called the papyrus, the Ipuwer papyrus, right? Ipuwer was an Egyptian man in the time of I believe it's the Bronze Age of Egypt, around the time when Moses and the Israelites were enslaved in Egypt. You know, he wrote this. I mean, well, this papyrus is dated back to that time, and in this papyrus, which is just like a document or a paper. In this papyrus, it lists, or he's given a detailed account on, what he's seen during when the Most High was doing the 10 plagues of Egypt. He's given an account of that, right? And this is an extra biblical source, right, that basically proves that the Bible is real and the God of the Bible is real, man. Right. First, let's see what a papyrus is, right? So I pulled this up, right? It says, quick Google, papyrus. Papyrus is a material used in ancient times for writing, made from the pith of the papyrus, of the papyrus plant, right? It was widely used in ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome, right? Papyrus can also refer to a document written on this material, right? So the papyrus is, the document written on this material that's made from this plant, right? So this particular papyrus that we finna, go into is the Ipuwer papyrus, right? And it was written in hieratic Egyptian script, right? So this is like an ancient Egyptian style of writing, right? The Egyptians, they didn't just do pictographs and all that, right? They had their own script, right? And this is called the hieratic script, right? This is just a photo of the papyrus, Ipuwer papyrus, right? And basically, it's giving a detailed account of this man's experience, and they linking, like, scholars looked at, what it's talking about, and they saying it's kind of sounded like the 10 plagues of Egypt that the Lord, caused through the prophet Moses, right? Salakia, let's go to this real quick. Grab a quick precept on that before we get into this. Matter of fact, let's go to Second Esdras. I believe that's 15. Right, this Second Esdras chapter 15 and verse, I'm going to start at 10. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. Right, so the Lord, he's not talking about the actual Egypt that we're finna read about. He's talking about a spiritual Egypt, right? A spiritual Egypt, right, which is basically us in America. But he likens our tribulation in Egypt, in America, to the tribulation that we face in Egypt. Because why? We dwelt in Egypt for around 430 years, and we were enslaved by the Egyptians, getting our backs beat, getting whipped, getting killed, mercilessly. They was unaliving our babies, same way they is now, through Planned Parenthood and all these other abortion clinics. They was doing all kind of things to us. It says, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before. That's how you know he's not talking about the literal Egypt, because he says, I will smite Egypt with plagues as before. Meaning he did that to ancient Egypt, and will destroy all the land thereof, right? And he said he will destroy all the land thereof. And he says, Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and the punishment that God shall bring upon it, right? So it's putting it in context of ancient Egypt. This is what he did. He smelt Egypt with plagues, meaning he hit them with plagues, man. Right, so let's get into this. So I went to, when I was digging into the papyrus, right, the Ipuwer papyrus, this is one of the scholarly websites that came up, right? It's a scholarly website when it has .edu. So this is ohr.edu, right? And it says the 10 plagues live from Egypt. Meaning this man is giving a live viewing, or not viewing, but a live documentation of what he experienced, right? So getting into it, it says in the early 19th century, a papyrus dating from the end of the Middle Kingdom was found in Egypt. It was taken to the Leiden Museum in Holland and interpreted by A.H. Gardiner in 1909. The complete papyrus can be found in the book Admonitions of an Egyptian from a hieratic papyrus in Leiden, right? So some white man, took all the papyruses, translated them, and made a complete book, of the translation of it, right? So people can, read about it and, research it. It says the papyrus describes violent upheavals in Egypt, starvation, drought, escape of slaves, right, with the wealth of the Egyptians, and death throughout the land. The papyrus was written by an Egyptian named Ippur and appears to be an eyewitness account of the effects of the Exodus plagues from the perspective of an average Egyptian. Below are excerpts from the papyrus together with the parallels of the book of Exodus, right? So let me zoom in so y'all can see better, right? This is the papyrus right here, what I showed y'all earlier, right? And basically what they did was they went through the papyrus, right? And they took all the accounts of what seemed to be lining up directly with the plagues in Exodus, right? With the 10 plagues. And they showed, what Ippur was saying about it, right? So it says Ippur papyrus, Leiden 344. It says 2, 5, and 6, right? The first one, it says plague is throughout the land. Blood is everywhere, right? The river is blood. Men shrink from tasting human beings and thirst after water. That is our water. That is our happiness. What shall we do in respect thereof? All is ruin, right? So the rivers became blood, and the Lord told Moses, put your staff in the water and I'm gonna make the river become blood. Let's grab that real quick. Right, this is Exodus chapter 7 and verse 17. It says, thus saith the Lord, in this thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. He said, by doing this, you gonna know that I'm Yahweh. Behold, I will smite with the rod that is in my hand upon the waters which are in the river, and they shall be turned to blood. And the fish that is in the river shall die, and the river shall stink, and the Egyptians shall loathe to drink the water of the river. What was that river? That was the Nile River. The Nile River was a very sacred river to the Egyptians, right? They had rituals that they would perform in that river, right? It was like their main water source for their vegetation and watering their crops and all of that. They did some weird stuff in that river too that we ain't gonna get into today. But yeah, I'm gonna do a lesson on that though, since a lot of our people want to go off into Kemet and Egyptology, right? I'm gonna show y'all what weirdos the Egyptians was. But yeah, so it said the river was stinking, and they hated to drink the water after that happened, because it killed all the fish, right? It says men shrink from tasting human beings and thirst after water, right? So it's like they couldn't drink the water, right? They was dying of thirst out there because they couldn't drink it, right? And then you see on the right side they got the parallels. Of what happened, but in the Bible. Let's go down to the next one. It says, forsooth, gates, columns, walls are consumed by fire, right? Lower Egypt weeps. The entire palace is without its revenues. To it belong wheat and barley, geese and fish, right? It says, forsooth, grain has perished on every side, right? Forsooth, that has perished, which was yesterday seen. The land is left over to its weariness, like the cutting off of flax, right? So that's when the Lord, had fire rain down upon Egypt, right? This is Exodus, the 9th chapter. I think I want verse 23, right? It's Exodus 9. I'm gonna start at 22. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch forth thine hand toward heaven, that there may be hail in all the land of Egypt upon man and upon beasts and upon every herb of the field throughout the land of Egypt. And you see, they said Ippur, he said that, that they crops was messed up. Right? He said the entire palace is without its revenues. To it belong wheat and barley, geese and fish. Right? Forsooth, grain has perished on every side. Meaning they crops got smitten by the fire. Right? It says, verse 23. And Moses stretched forth his rod toward heaven, and the Lord Yahweh sent thunder and hail, and the fire ran along upon the ground, and the Lord rained hail on the land of Egypt. So there was hail and fire mingled with the hail, very grievous, such as there was none like it in all the land of Egypt since it became a nation. And the hail smote throughout all the land of Egypt, all that was in the field, both man and beast. And the hail smote every herb of the field and break every tree of the field. Right? So, the Lord destroyed all their crops, was killing animals and killing men. Right? So, yeah. This is proving that the Exodus actually happened, man. Right? Let's keep going. Right? It says 5 and 5. All animals, their hearts weep, cattle moan. Right? Behold, cattle are left to stray, and there is none to gather them together. Right? That's the I believe the Lord sent the what is it called? Slakia. He sent that plague upon the cattle. Right? This Exodus 9 and 3. I'm gonna start at verse 1. Then the Lord said unto Moses, Go in unto Pharaoh, and tell him, Thus saith the Lord God of the Hebrews, Let my people go, that they may serve me. For if thou refuse to let them go, and wilt hold them still, behold, the hand of the Lord is upon thy cattle which is in the field, upon the horses, upon the asses, upon the camels, upon the oxen, and upon the sheep. There shall be a very grievous murrain. Right? And a murrain is like a disease. Right? Let's see what murrain mean. Right? Let's go. Let's see what murrain mean. Let's pull up another tab.
We bring together you and unique. It's ideal arrangement.
Right? Murrain refers to a widespread, often fatal disease, specifically in domestic animals like cattle and sheep. It is essentially a plague or pestilence affecting livestock. Right? Right? So it means to die, because it's a fatal disease. Right? And that's what the Lord did to their cattle. It say, and the Lord shall sever between the cattle of Israel and the cattle of Egypt, meaning none of the cattle of Israel died, but the cattle of Egypt died. Right? And there shall nothing die of all that is in the children of Israel's. Right? Jumping to verse 6. And the Lord did that thing on the morrow, and all the cattle of Egypt died, but of the cattle of the children of Israel died not one. Right? So let's go back to the papyrus. It say, all animals, their hearts weep, cattle moan, because why? They was hit with that disease. Behold, cattle are left to stray, and there is none to gather them together. I mean, they was running around, just dying. And there wasn't none to gather them together. Right? 9 and 11, boom, one of the big ones. The land is without light. Right? The land is without light. Right? So what is it talking about? It's talking about the 3 days of darkness. Them 3 days of darkness, right? Exodus 10, and I'm going to start at 21. It says, and the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand toward heaven, and that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. And Moses stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. Right? In all the land of Egypt, there was a thick darkness 3 days. But where the children of Israel was, it wasn't no darkness. Right? Let's grab another account on this. Right? Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, the 17th chapter. Solomon, in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, if you ain't read it yet, Solomon gives like a lot of detail into, what was going down in Egypt, during the 10 plagues and what was happening, and really the reason that the Lord was doing all of this, right? So I'm gonna start at verse 1. It say, "For great are thy judgments and cannot be expressed. Therefore unnurtured souls have erred. For when unrighteous men thought to oppress the holy nation," and the Egyptians, they was unrighteous men, right? They thought to oppress us. You read about that in Exodus, the 1st chapter, when they saw how great we was growing as a nation, right? And they chose to enslave us so that, we couldn't backdoor them if they was to go to war, right? So they started, throwing our babies in the river, enslaving us, made us build all them pyramids that you see right now. They made us do all of those things. We built those cities. We built the Sphinxes. Like I said, the pyramids, all those great structures in Egypt. The Egyptians made the Hebrews build that in bondage and in servitude. It says, "They being shut up in their houses, the prisoners of darkness," right? Because why? They wasn't going out of their house because it was dark. They couldn't see anything. "And fettered with the bonds of a long night," right? "Laid their exile from the eternal providence," right? Because 3 days of darkness will be like one long ass night. It says, "For while they supposed to lie hid in their secret sins, they were scattered under a dark veil of forgetfulness, being horribly astonished and troubled with strange apparitions," right? So the darkness wasn't even all that the Lord did. They had apparitions. Apparition is like a ghost like figure, like a shadowy like a shadowy spirit like figure, and the Lord was plaguing them with visions of that, right? Imagine you can't see nothing, you in the dark. Niggas already be scared of the dark. I don't care who you is, you scared of the dark. But then you hearing noises. You hearing crazy stuff. You hearing waterfalls falling. You ain't nowhere near no water. You hearing animals running around. You hearing lions and all that. You hearing all these things, and then you see like figures in the distance and all that. You getting visions. Man, the Lord was messing them Egyptians up. It say, "For neither might the corner that held them keep them from fear." So they'd be backed off in the corner and they'd still be scared. It say, "But noises as of waters falling down sounded about them, and sad visions appeared unto them with heavy countenances," right? "No power of the fire might give them light, neither could the bright flames of the stars endure to lighten that horrible night," right? So they had to go through it, right? Fire wasn't even giving them light. Okay, we almost done. Right, 4:3. It says, "The children of princes are dashed against the walls. The children of princes are cast out in the streets. The prison is ruined. He who places his brother in the ground is everywhere," meaning everybody was burying a family member, right? Everyone had to bury a family member. Why? Because the Lord killed all the firstborn in Egypt, right? "It is groaning throughout the land, mingled with lamentations," right? Because it's groaning throughout the land, mingled with lamentations, because they was all having to bury their firstborn. Right, let's go over one chapter, right? Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18. I think is it 11? Let me see where I want to start. I'm going to go to Exodus first, and then I'm going to come to Wisdom of Solomon. This is Exodus 12. And Shalaki, is this what I wanted? This is about the Passover. Shalaki, bear with me. Oh, here you go, right? This is Exodus 11, and I'm going to start at... I'm gonna start at 4. And Moses said, thus saith the Lord, about midnight will I go out into the into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sitteth upon his throne, even unto the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of beasts, right? All the firstborn of beasts, right? So, and there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there was none like it, nor shall it be like it anymore, right? So the Lord said, everybody in Egypt finna be crying because somebody in their family just died, they firstborn, right? Your most noble seed is your firstborn, right? Because that's the heir to all. Well, if it's a son, right? Mainly, you pass down your things to your firstborn son. That's how they did it in the ancient world. But yeah. So going back to Wisdom of Solomon, the 18th chapter. I'm gonna start at verse 9. For the righteous children of good men did sacrifice secretly. What does that talk about? The Passover. And with one consent made a holy law, that the saints should be like partakers of the same good and evil. The fathers now singing out the songs of praise. But on the other side, meaning where the Egyptians was, there sounded an ill-according cry of the enemies. That's why on the papyrus it said it was a great lamentation, meaning a great cry. And the lamentable noise was carried abroad for children that were bewailed. The master and the servant were punished after one manner, and like as the king, so suffered the common person. So that's why, it said the son of the Pharaoh, everybody, all the way down to, the servants. If you was an Egyptian, your firstborn died. So they all together had innumerable dead with one kind of death. Neither were the living sufficient to bury them. For in one moment, the noblest offspring, meaning the firstborn of them, was destroyed. So it's like, they wasn't able to bury them because there was so many dead, right? Going down, though, because I'm trying to get through this, right? It says, I'm gonna pass that one. Let's go to 3:2. Gold and lapis, lazuli, silver, and malachite, carnelian, and bronze are fastened on the neck of female slaves. Who was the slaves? The Israelites. We were the slaves. And so this is talking about when we spoiled the Egyptians, right? When we spoiled the Egyptians. So and there was prophecy that we was gonna do that. Let me go to Genesis. The Lord told Abraham that he was going to do this. Genesis 15, and I believe it's 13. Right. It says, and he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. Speaking about Egypt, because Egypt is not our land. We belong in the land of Israel. Right. It says, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. That's how long we dwelt in Egypt. Right, and we was being afflicted 400 years. And also that nation, meaning the Egyptians, whom they shall serve will I judge. And he judged the Egyptians with the 10 plagues. And afterwards shall they come out with great substance. Right, what's that great substance? This right here. Gold, lapis, lazuli, silver, malachite, carnelian, and bronze. We came out with all those precious metals, diamonds, jewels, right? We came out with all that. We spoiled the Egyptians, right? Let's go to Exodus 13. It's like Exodus. Exodus 12. And going down to the boom, 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 boom. Slakia. Okay, here we go. Right. Verse 35. Exodus 12 and 35. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment, meaning clothes. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, meaning the Lord called the Egyptians to, give us whatever we asked for, because all the shit that just happened to their ass, they was like, we gonna listen to these people. so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians, meaning we took all of that. We didn't give it back. To spoil means to rob, to take, right? So it said we spoiled the Egyptians, right? So that's what that's talking about. So this is all proof, right, from the documentation of this Egyptian, right, Ipuar, right, that the 10 plagues actually happened and that the story of the Exodus actually happened. But, you know, the oppressor, the so-called white man, is going to cause you to believe that, you know, the Bible is not real, that it's just a fairy tale book, and that these things didn't actually happen, right? He's going to tell you that he's going to try to get you to believe in Darwinism and evolution and the Big Bang and all that, and dinosaurs and the Earth 65 million years old. None of that shit is true, man. Right? None of that is true. Right? This is what he's doing. The white man is the dragon. He's the serpent. Right? And the serpent is slick. He a liar. He a deceiver. He gonna try to bring out some propaganda, false propaganda, to try to, you know, swallow up all the truth that we bringing out. Right? But he can't do that because the earth gonna help us. And the serpent cast out, Revelation 12:15, and the serpent cast out of his mouth water as the flood after the woman. That's that propaganda. Y'all ain't the Israelites. Y'all monkeys from Africa. We saved y'all. Woo woo. Y'all Africans, African Americans, you know, took our identity, took our language away from us to try to make us believe all his lies, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood, meaning we carried away by the lies that he's spilling out. But what? Verse 16, and the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth. How did the earth help us? Through all of these historical artifacts that are being found. You had the Russian icons showing that all the prophets and the people of Israel were black and dark-skinned people, right? And melanated black and brown people, right? You had this, the papyrus, right? Showing that you had the Dead Sea Scrolls, you know, showing that, you know, the Bible was written at the time that it was written. You know, you have all of these artifacts that came out, that been found in the earth, right, that is combating against the wicked propaganda and the lies that the white man been spilling out about us. It say, and swallow up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth, right? So, Lord willing, you was edified. With that, I'm going to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. It's time for you blacks and Hispanics to come back home, man. Come grab hold of this Bible, man. Get into these camps, get into the congregation, you know, and repent, keep God's commandments, man. Right, so we could get up out of here, because this is going to be the second Exodus, our exit out of America. Shalom.